Okay, hi. It's Shane again, and I thought I'd make you a video just telling you a bit about myself and how I became this way, um, as in disabled and in a wheelchair. Um, so I was born in '80. That was a long time ago, 40 years ago now. And so I'm pretty old, I would say. I was calling myself old when I was in my 20s, and that's a different story, but yeah, I just felt it. Um, so I was born in '80, and I was born in a place called Brisbane. That's in the east coast of Australia. And we moved up here in a few years later, and we moved to Townsville. Townsville is a bit further north from from Brisbane, and we were here for a couple of years. My my parents had just moved to Australia, maybe 6 years before, and and yeah, so we were in Townsville for about 2 years, and I was walking for the first 5 years of my life, and then um, I was crossing. I was crossing the road. I was doing something I shouldn't have been doing, and I was following my dad to the shop, and I was a ways behind him. And as I was crossing the road, a speeding car came around the corner and hit me, and so that's how I became the way I am. I was in hospital for over a year and a half, and I finally got out, and yeah, it was just uh, I wasn't supposed to be around for that long. Um, we so my parents struggled to take care of me. They could, but they struggled. My dad quit his job, and my mom took care of me the most, and dad scrounged around for whatever jobs he could do, whatever money he could bring in, which is pretty much what he was good at. He came well when they came to Australia. My dad was a fisherman, so he always could fish. He always could feed his family, and we made a bit of money off that. Oh, he did anyway, and yeah, he was a good provider, and mom would take care of me. Mom would worry the most about me. I have four sisters as well. Sisters. I'll try and pronounce my words properly. Um, One of them is younger than me, and so we all grew up together. My parents didn't want to put me in a home. They took care of me at home, and we struggled through that for a while. But yeah, that's what families do. That's what any or most immigrant families would do. So yeah, we uh, after I got out of hospital, I stayed home for a while. Then I started schooling at a special school for kids with disabilities. Not many of us could talk. The ones that could communicate were were um, they were good kids. They probably didn't have the they probably didn't have the intelligence of people their age, but they could communicate and communicate well. Which doesn't say anything because there was a guy there who couldn't even talk. at all, and he was way smarter than me. He graduated high school, and yeah, he couldn't even talk. He couldn't even move, and yeah, he was because I was so small. I always looked up to him, and he did his education very well, and I did see him a few years later, but not many of the people I went to school with there um, lived as long as me. There's still a few around, I think, but yeah, um, some of them weren't even that well off. After the special school, as I was in the special school, they wanted to get me into a primary school because I had the mental capacity to learn with other children. They were wrong. No, no, I'm joking. But yeah, I went after that. Around 12 years old, I went to a like a primary school in Australia. Yeah, and I did my grade 6 and 7 at a normal school, and I had the best time. I yeah, yeah, I had a lot of friends, and yeah, and I learned just as well as um, a lot of the other kids there. So it was good. It was good. I and then after that, I went to high school, which which I didn't do good at because I wasn't really into it, and um, depression was because I couldn't mingle with the other kids on on a physical level. Um, I couldn't do what they did, and so that affected my learning, my will to learn, uh, and yeah, it affected me mentally as well. So I just shut down. I did uh, I did the first few years of high school, and yeah, I barely scraped in a grade 10 education. Um, just because there was a lot of other emotions, like I was dealing with my disability, uh, and because I didn't hang around disabled people, uh, well, well, honestly, back then, disabled people that were thinking, we all weren't like social together because we wanted to be better than we were. Can I say that? Um, we were kind of prejudiced towards each other because we wanted to be smarter than each other. We probably weren't, but yeah, there was no uh, bonding between disabled people. Not in Townsville, anyway. Not that I got. Not that I reached out. I was trying to make my own way as well, and I lost a few good disabled friends when I was younger, so I was kind of hesitant to make friends with disabled people, just because yeah, having that loss of a friend again scared me. I can say that, but yeah, yeah, growing up in high school, it was terrible because the guys were sporty, other guys were smart, the girls were pretty. Of course, the girls were pretty, and I wasn't that bad looking either. But uh, insecurities, because I was disabled, and yeah, and I didn't really want to hang around disabled people because it made me look more disabled when I really wanted to not to look normal but to be accepted as a normal person. But yeah, kids have a lot of energy, and they will do whatever they can to, use up that energy. And yeah, and I I couldn't blame them. Um, yeah, but that's the way it was back then anyway. Today's society makes is a bit more compassionate, and yeah, they will make way for people with disabilities to express themselves, and they'll be more understanding. But back in the early '90s, uh, mid '90s, it wasn't like that at all. They encouraged, but I was raised to be a bit tougher than yeah, a bit tougher than the normal person, because image was everything. So even back in that time, image was everything. There was no internet, or you couldn't put your face up on the internet like this and explain yourself. The first impression people got of you was that was it. You were that. So I would make myself out to look mean, look unapproachable, and in the hopes that it would make me look more attractive. If that makes sense. I don't. Yeah, that makes sense apparently. So yeah, that's how I came across, mean and unapproachable, which wasn't like me at all at the start. It became me because of other issues I had when I was in my latter teens, and yeah, and that's when I suffered from depression the most, because and no one was really aware of, like, widely aware of depression back then. My dad worked in mental health, and but these were the more extreme cases amongst the indigenous Australians. Um, yeah, but if you didn't show it drastically, people just assumed you were depression free, and and you got over it or you didn't. I had some friends that didn't. Um, yeah, but yeah, it wasn't easy in my early adulthood, uh, growing up. Um, and then I came. That's my coffee there. Then I came into something that I liked, uh, music. So I started playing music. I started um, singing. I started singing, which my mother encouraged me to do from an early age. I just didn't practice it, but in my early 20s, I did sing a bit, and I played an instrument, and that kind of gave me a way to express myself, um, and it got my confidence up as well. So yeah, it was a good thing. It was a good time, because I was in I had friends back then, in my early church days, and they were uni students, so they were not the most punctual people, especially when it came to band practice. So and but yeah, but they were good boys. They were good boys, and yeah, I played with them for a couple of years, and then I moved on. But yeah, the first half of my life was very very hard, and just coping with it. Not only with the mental issues, but the the physical and health issues that I had were um, almost overwhelming at the start. Always sick because not only am I hemiplegic, which means I am uh, paralyzed on one side of my body, so I can move this side and this leg, and but the left arm and the left leg they're not so good, and um, so yeah, growing up with that issue, the hemiplegia, and I have this tracheostomy as well. Um, and that started with all different types of infections, which is normal when you first get it in, and 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 it just continues. It gets worse if you're older. If you're younger, it'll either over over overcome you, or you will get used to it to a certain age, and then you'll decline. That's what I'm theorizing. So I am mm, preparing for things to get worse as I get older, because I won't fight infection as well as I did when I was younger. Um, yeah, so from the age I was 5 till till I was 20, I struggled with chest infections a lot, and yeah, it's not very pleasant, and it when you struggle for breath, and you you suffer from anxiety a lot, very, and anxiety when you can breathe fine as well, because you remember the sensation of being breathless, and that'll get you going again. So your heart rate, sorry, is always up there, and it was worse for me because I'm dragging myself along with half a body as well. So I was underweight a lot just because I burnt so much energy. Even having a little spasm right now, uh, and yeah, it was just very taxing, and yeah, and I was underweight for the longest time just because I was always moving, and I was always thinking, and I was barely on this machine as well. Uh, Only when I slept, because I was really active back then, and yeah, then I got a bit lazy, and I got a little fat as well. So, which I'm trying to lose, because not only because to look better, but yeah, I can't drag as much weight as as yeah, I just can't drag that much weight because I've only got half a body to work with, and the more weight I have, the harder it is. So I always have to try to lose weight. Yeah. So yeah, I've been in Townsville for most of my life, and it is up and down. It's a hot place in the summer, and it's a cool place in the winter. But I'm from North Queensland, and cold to people is cold to me, and yeah, we don't like it at all. But when you're from Townsville, yeah, you don't want to live anywhere else, so you put up with it, even though it's extreme from cold to hot in the summer, and yeah, and and that doesn't help with the breathing issues either. But yeah, you just hope for the best, and you keep breathing, because that's what you're supposed to do. I moved out to a rural suburb back when I was 12. Yeah, it's like it was in the bush those days, because we used to live in town, and very small. Like, yeah, I go back to my old houses, and the houses that we lived in were very small compared to the house I'm in right now. We yeah we like So I moved out here when I was 12, just before my 13th birthday, and I've I've uh, I've been I've been in the same house for since '93. Yeah, since '93, and it was an acreage. There was a bit of land out here, and my mother loved the house when she saw it. So I thought, yeah, I like this house as well. And yeah, because there was nothing to keep you inside in those days. There was there was whatever you could make up in your mind, or whatever you could entertain yourself with, um, which was not much when I think about it. And probably generations before me was even less. So that's why uh, I was I grew up outside most of the time, and it was a good place to be. I was always outside, even in my wheelchair. I was always outside. I've always had an electric wheelchair. Well, not always, but as soon as I got one, I didn't go back to staying inside in a manual chair, because I like to move around, and yeah, even today it's a habit. Like yeah, it's just something like certain disabled people always have to be in motion to be relaxed. That's why um, some some people with in certain conditions, they'll rock, or they'll swing their head like this, or they'll have other quirks that always keep them in motion. I always like to be outside, and because I have breathing issues, uh, and you can see me breathing when I'm moving, and if I stop moving, then I'm not breathing. So I always like to be in motion, just to remind myself to breathe, because sometimes I forget to breathe. And yeah, so I grew up outside, moving around. That's why this channel is called Dirty Wheels, because um up until my mother died, she was always complaining that I was bringing mud into the house, because yeah, I would never I would never have clean wheels. Even my wheelchair mechanic, if you can say that, says tells me, um, don't get your new chair dirty. And yeah, and he knows that's impossible, because I always dirty these chairs. I always run them into the ground, and yeah, just because I work outside, and that's where I feel that's my therapy. I've never gotten used to people touching me, people moving my limbs around, just keeping me loose. Um, yeah, I didn't grow up with strangers touching me, and making sure everything was okay. It was My therapy was outside, and my stimulation was me falling out of my chair and injuring myself, and that get the adrenaline rushing and the blood pumping, and yeah, I've fallen out of my chair uh, dozens of times. Burnt myself, cut myself. Yeah, but it's what keeps you alert and strong, and yeah, I prefer it to like therapy that has me lying down and they're stretching me. Mind you, I'm not in the best shape now, but if I was to stay still and do the exercises that they recommended for me, I I wouldn't be as motivated, probably not as successful as I am. Um, yeah, and I wouldn't have been able to achieve what I've achieved. I'd probably be more of a people person. I'm not. I'm a shut-in. I'm very antisocial. Um, yeah, and so yeah, that was about me until I was 20. I kind of stuck to myself and tried to, you know, um, do what I could to stay alive because I wasn't. No one expected me to live this long, or probably even 20 years, because I was pretty beat up, and the disabilities I have, yeah, or I had at the time, which I still have, um, there were there were um, that the outcome of it didn't look that that good. Um, yeah, so the first 20 years of my life were just trying to survive with my mental state, with my physical state, and with what I had, which was yeah, which was well yeah, I had it better than most people, and most of the kids I went to school with at the special school, I had it way better than them. So that's what kept me going, and um, the friends I lost back then, I never heard them complain ever about the situation, and they were in in worse places than me. They weren't expected to live um, long at all, and I never ever heard them complain or feel sorry for themselves. Yeah, so they were the best kid friends you could have. Yeah.